introduce her real quick. For those of you who've been coming to VOSE's conferences and events, you maybe have even seen a presentation from Sandy in the past. She was at our spring conference earlier, I think a month ago. So Sandy Lewis is a retired Spanish and French teacher. She has taught numerous levels across both languages in the United States and Canada. She is a lifelong fan of drawing, and she enjoys coming up with new ways to complement VOSE stories with her art. Thank you so much, Sandy, for being here.
Thank you.
And I will give you the floor to go ahead and get started.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. As Spencer said, I'm a retired teacher, so I have the time to practice. If I were teaching, it would be much harder. So I really am happy to share all the little tips that I discovered for myself as I'm actually continuing to learn. And this is my presentation, April 13th. And I'm using my iPad because it's really, I can just go in and out to draw versus going from slideshows to iPad. This is really easy. So my goal is to show how you can personalize the drawings with subtle changes. I'll give a brief review of the last presentation, but really dive into the new stuff, draw on my own experiences to show how I created easier ways to draw and some simple tips. And I just discovered a couple of things in the last 2 days, which is very cool. So people would ask me, do you always do stick art? No, not all the time. Some of the stories are so perfect for stick art. I think it's La Muchacha Fantástica. That's just in a schoolroom. It's the girl, it's the boy. It's perfect for that. But then you have other ones like Uma Va Ouagadougou that has tremendous culture. So that's where I concentrate to teach myself, say, how to draw the masks, how to draw the people that are dancing, how to draw the people that are in the traditional theater. So it depends on what the story is for me. And some of them I actually blend both stick art and the more stylized. So I've already started in by the end of the presentation. I hope that we go from, this, and I drew these, and if it were me, I say, I would say, can I copy these or can I use these in my school, my classes? Absolutely. You can just make screenshots of whatever I have and use them in your classes. Absolutely. So I want people to go from that to this, and this is stick art, and I discovered balloons. So I decided to have very simple drawings with just flying away. This is what I want people to feel at the end. That's my hope. Okay. And here, again, I was into like, how could I present this in a different way each time I give a presentation? I want people to be able to get more stuff out of it. And I discovered hands, which was really hard for me in the beginning until I discovered kind of a formula for that. But I have like, let's look back, and these are virtually the same head, but with subtle nuances, you can change everything, which is really cool. I made the books blank, so if you wanted to use one of these in your classroom, you could put homework or testing or fun stuff on Friday. You could just use those and use it in your classroom. And I had the themes the last time I did the presentation, and I just wanted to show that you could use these in your classroom, and thought bubbles, things like that. So these were the themes that I presented the last time. Around the sides, I decided to just use super simple clip art. It's the same clip art as the page before, but I just added legs, just add a couple of sticks, and there you have a more complete picture. We did a lot with emotions because so many of the VOSE stories they're sad, they're happy, there are tears, they're wondering, they're confused, they're exasperated. So I played around with that in the last presentation. I also had postures like standing and sitting and running. And, I did a lot of practice when I was doing that. So if you have a pencil and paper and you want to practice as I show you how it kind of evolves, those were most of the themes that I did for the last presentation. I also did versus emotions, just expressions, put little doodlies above the head. And basically it's a lollipop. If you look at a lollipop, that's the kind of head I was originally using for my stick art figures. So there are lots of expressions. I showed people how to use the just lines to put them over their head, little squiggles around them so it looks like they're shaking. And one of the things was, at least in the French stories, when you look to the right of this page, they're always laughing. Oh, whoops, sorry about that. Let me just get rid of that, merge it down. They're laughing at the end of the story. Mother laughs, the child laughs, they all laugh. So I showed all the different ways I wanted to change what kind of laugh the person was doing, and putting the, father up on the head so it looks like they're doing a belly laugh. So those were the themes that were the last time that I did this. And I drew a picture just closing a book. And with subtle changes, I could change the face and change the attitude and change everything about it, but with subtle changes. So I said the review is done, and then new tips. So if you want to get a pencil and paper, anything that has a star on it is, I'll be practicing. And whoops, oh, sorry about that. Hold on, I just did something. I moved something. Hold on. Okay, I moved something. Sorry about that. Making subtle changes and making it personal. So many Vosé stories feature older people, children, people working, teenagers, and more. And I tried to, originally I was just going to do older people, but I said, why don't I add, children? Why don't I add middle-aged people? And I started to look at faces to see if I could come up with a formula for myself and sharing it with you. And with the subtle changes, you could just bring the character to life. And here's the first one with the star. What I discovered, because older people were very hard for me to do when I would do the stories, until I suddenly was playing around and I discovered letter A, it looks like a peanut. So I said, that head looks like a peanut to me. And what I did was I kind of erased the bottom and put some features in, and then it was an older person. I made it wider and it looked almost like a basket to me. So on the bottom, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to go back to the black color, to show you what I would do if you want to start drawing. And it doesn't have to be perfect because mine are not perfect. Whoops. Okay. Whoops. Okay, now go the other side. Okay. So like I said, this is a slidey pen on the iPad, so it kind of slides. So I have to be very careful. But there's my peanut. And I start with a peanut. And if you have an eraser and you want it, like I was erasing as well, once I had the peanut, I wanted to make it so the person looked like just a little bit older. So I erased it. And at the bottom, I made like 3 little bumps. And that's for the little chin. That's all I did. You don't have to do it, but I was playing with it. Once I did the little bump at the bottom, in letter C, I started to put the features in. It's really perfect on the side where that indent is where I put the ears. And right around that area where the ears are is where the eyes would go. So the eyes don't have to be very stylized at all, a line and 2 dots. This is where it's just fantastic because I have so many different ways to do. I can do a simple nose, or I can do a more stylized nose, or I can do that, like a little nose to just like, it changes the whole look, but it's really subtle. I can do a little nose like that if I want. It depends on what I want to do, and I don't have to be perfect. Line, 2 dots. The mouth for me is really, I used to get really angsty about the mouth, but no, I can just do this, 3 little lines, keep them. And what really, and there's like the body. And when you look, this is the same, I can make this person male or female. There's my base. That's what I use when I draw. If I just put 2, and I'm going to give him glasses because frankly, I'm older and I do wear glasses. Okay, watch this, 2 little lines, older person, older person. If I take the top off, because I said I have to make this easy when I'm drawing for a story, if I just go like that, now it's female. It started with a peanut, moved on, and on the eyebrows, that's the other thing. I usually have the eyebrows that have white in the middle because you want it to make just a little older. And yet it doesn't look to me garish. And this is me drawing, being a little nervous. And I can go back and just, if I go like this, and I also put the head back on, I just do 3 squiggles on the side. It's another kind of very subtle difference, but now I have a different kind of an old person. If I use the same template and I made copies of it, I could have 3 friends meeting for coffee in some coffee shop. So it started with a peanut. I erased it and I'm looking at letter C. I put my features in. It could be a woman as well. And the basket was something I just discovered. I didn't want to have the same kind of face. So letter E, see if I can do this. Okay. Oops, hold on. I'm getting a little nervous. Okay, so it's kind of a basket to me. If I put weaving in there, I could probably carry it along with me. I wanted to make it wider and see, like letter E, what would it look like if I did that kind of a basket instead of the peanut? So I have the little face. I put the ears on the side. I can kind of give like a head. Put the head back in. If I just put some hair, you say, well, does that look old? Maybe not, until for some reason I put the glasses in and now it looks a little like an older person. I can't explain it, but the glasses sort of make the difference. And yet it's cute. And they're 2 totally different faces, but the only difference was the basket versus the peanut. So that was my first discovery. So when I do my stories, they only look like peanuts. This was another older person. This is the exact same. A, B, C, D, E, and F are exactly the same picture. And all I did was either in letter A, put hair around the back, a little bit way, way back, like a person's losing their hair. Or I had the same exact template, letter B, hair on the side. Letter C, I put white hair on the side. And what I did with letter C was I was very, very subtle with the eyes. Again, I'm trying to be so subtle that you go, oh yeah, they are slightly different, but just a slight angle, it maybe changes the whole look. And I mean slight. Letter D, I just put white hair that could be male or female. So in the olden days, you would have really stereotypical with the little flip hair for the woman, and for the men, very, very stereotypical, but I'm trying to be more modern where that could be a man, could be a woman. Letter E, just more hair, but it could be a man, maybe in his 50s with longer hair. And letter F, I just put white hair. Over here on the left, and I would call this letter G probably, so we know, that's that kind of a basket weave. And I was playing with this last night and was just kind of messing around with it. And if I wanted to just go like that on this face and kind of draw little things on the side, and I wanted to put like a head, I could go like this. It looks pretty young, but then you put the glasses, now it doesn't look so young. And that little bump there is there for a reason. You can give that person jowls now. That's why I put the bumps on the bottom. So you could, maybe they do look a little older. And what also makes it look older is, there you go. I didn't want to put lines in the face and lines around the eyes to make it as simple for myself when I'm drawing. So that was that one. On the next page, if you want to, kind of practice with this, these were 3 examples. And I just want to say, if I want to play with letter G, and again, my eyes are usually pretty similar and simple. And I just go like that. I just put little lines there on the bottom to make letter G, to make their lips. Okay, and again, if I want to put the head back and just a couple of, usually it's the hair, I usually have it like that. The eyebrows. And you could put a mustache on this. I always put the glasses, to me, just make it, that's, if you're looking for an older person, that's what I would put in there. I can put very tiny lines because I have trouble with the mustache because I'm pregnant. Very little lines, and I could put, there it is, there's a mustache. And if I change the look of this is the same person. If I simply erase letter G and erase the top part, I have to have it to be sort of gender neutral. So I could put, and I don't have to be perfect. And there we have, that could be a woman. So I'm using the same template for male and female. And I always, when I'm doing stories, I'll always kind of go, okay, do I want the peanut? Or do I want the basket? And that's for the older people. And this one was just a recap of starting with letter A. Basically, this could be the basket, putting the facial features in letter B. Letter C, I put the eyebrows in. Letter D, hair on the side, hair on the top, no hair at all if I want. Letter E, I put a tiny bit of jowls at the bottom just to make the person look slightly older, because older people do show up in the stories. They're living with their grandmothers, they're visiting their grandmothers. So again, it's just, and what you can do, which I like, is if I want to do this with the eyebrows, put them to the side, now it might look like the person's a little, say, nervous. Or I can make the person one change with eyebrows, one slight change, and put the glasses in. I don't have to put the glasses, but I just like to. And I could do that. Now the person could be angry. They're real subtle changes, but if I just play with that, I say, what kind of a look am I looking for? And I don't want to have to do a lot of work. If there's a lot of pictures in a story, I could be doing 25, 30 slides. So I just kind of play to make it simple for myself. And these pictures, they do lend themselves to actually middle-aged. If I just want to, it doesn't have to be an old person, but I think the glasses change the whole look. And over here on the next page, I took the same base. In the middle is the base. And I thought, what if I just try to play around with that? And I did subtle differences. And letter A for the female, I thought, what kind of hairdo could I give a grandmother, in the story? I could give traditional. That's pretty standard from years ago. Just very simple. Is letter B. Letter C is just more modern, and letter D is just more fun, but 4 different looks that I could play with that gets away from the stereotypical one with the bun. On the other side for the grandfathers, a bit of hair for letter E. Letter F, traditional, looks more like a grandfather. Letter G, old fashioned. I thought, let me just see what happens if I give the person that kind of middle part. And letter H, modern. Just make it really simple. And all it was starting with the peanut. And that's basically how I do it. And over here, once do I really want to do stick figures with the body all the time? And I was wrestling with a little while ago how to, if you want to, kind of just draw a peanut or even just an oval face. What I discovered was if I make sort of like a bell, okay, and that could be a bell. I draw some, and if I could have if that was a bell, that would have a little ding, ding, ding at the bottom of it. If I draw a bell and 2, I guess with the legs, I would, 2 rectangles, and that bell has a perfect shape for an older person. And I just put dots in there, and I put, hook around. That is an older person, and it was the bell that I said, oh yeah, I could just do a little bell, different shapes of bells. Okay. And if I draw 2, I call them pipes. Okay. two pipes and just even like a little circle. Now that person is moving the arm. So the bell, the letter E was just, so once I was able to do that, I said, okay, now I can kind of make the older person. And if I put a bow tie, cute. Over here, I discovered sitting on the letter A, if I took this person, I'll just erase this part here. If I said, how do I have the person sitting? Because the person's not always going to be standing, or I might not want the person standing. I just said, well, what if I just kind of angle out and okay, and I just put like a chair behind them. Okay. Okay, that's really fast, but it's like, you can see that it was just, oh yeah, now I can, person can have like be sitting down, and I would just go like over again. Okay, and then over, up. Okay, and if I just angled it, then I have the person, they're sitting. Okay, it's kind of awkward, but that's what I'm doing for the older people, is the bell. And I thought, yeah, that makes it a little easier for me. I can do, large buttons if I want, but the bell was a game changer for me. And letter A, it's kind of cool because it looks like just a t-shirt. Letter B, letter C, and letter D. Again, this is easier for me to draw the older person. And this is very cool because this one, I just wanted to show you, if this is the same person, and letter A, B, it's the same face. But if I want to change basically expressions on this person, if I just in the first one, that's the same, that's one face. I just put, angle down. Now the person's angry. Same face exactly. I haven't had to change anything with the face. I do it the other way. And if I put a little tear, now with the person, same face, which is what I like to do. If I can cut and paste, same face, I don't have to do a lot more drawing. If I want to have it up like this at the top and letter C, just surprise. If I want to have, and I say, okay, so I have this up like this, same thing, but now I want to change maybe just the mouth. If I go like this and I just angle it, could be, oh yeah, I know something really good. If I wanted to make the person the same face, okay, and I do this, and I basically say, okay, I want to play with that same look, and the person is looking like that, but I just want to make them look the other way. Okay, so it's awkward, but the person's now looking sideways, okay? I change one thing in it. I cut and paste it, and I just look that. I can have the person looking this way, like very concerned. Those eyes going across, like the eyebrows going across, to me is very concerned. If I take the same look and same face, I go like this with the eyebrows, but I do that. Now the person might be a little angry. It's the same face. It looks almost like a lollipop. That's, I'm using a lollipop as my base. And if this one, if I had, I don't know if that would work. Yeah, like one guy, when I going up, no, I'm wondering what's going on here. And just a broad smile, okay? So if I take the same picture and I'm able to cut and paste, I don't have to redraw this picture. I just have a base for the picture, which is exciting for me because I can do more. And I was talking with some teacher friends and they said, what about changing the tone? Because I want to keep it simple, I try to stay away from the tone. But you can, and you can change, like I have the ability. You don't, most people don't have the ability. In this is my palette, okay? I have that ability to play with the tone and to really, really experiment with that. And, different tones and pulling them into the picture. But you can use tones if you have that ability That's almost like another presentation. It's really wonderful to be able to put tone in. In my more stylized drawing, sometimes I use the tone because it makes sense. And like I said, you can have the same picture and does it look different with the tone? It probably does, but it's wonderful to use it if you have the ability to do that. And over here, I discovered, okay, so I have my peanut head, and then I have the basket head, quite by accident, because I was looking at my own face. I discovered it's sort of like a balloon. If you look at letter C, it does to me look like a deflating balloon. I came across it by accident and said, what if I just, like, for my own self, I was just, playing around. If you look at my drawing, and I was like, okay, this is me, and I'm going to be talking to people. And I went, it looks like a balloon. So when I can visually say, okay, I have a peanut, I have a balloon in like letter C, I have a basket in letter B, I have a bell for the body, that's easier for me to say, okay, what kind of a head do I want? And it's just a different way. It's like I said, it was looking at my own face. So I'm just drawing it now. Okay. And I was looking at myself in the mirror saying, okay, yeah, that could, there's me. Okay. And I decided, yeah, that's a third. Like I said, for cartoons, you've got, the balloon, the basket, and then you have the peanut. And it just like, oh yeah, okay. Over here, so I said, okay, I done the older people. Little children for me are so much easier. You don't see a lot of little children, but in a couple of the stories that I was drawing, they were playing in a schoolyard. And if you want to draw, and so just draw a, for me, just it's like drawing a lollipop, very round face, 2 eyes. You can play the noses. You can sometimes put noses, sometimes you don't have to. You can, have hair, a little bit of hair. You can have a lot of hair, but remember the body is much smaller. Okay, the body, that's how you understand that it's a child. Okay, and you can do anything you want, like in the last presentation, how to do movement. Okay, the person, it could be holding a ball. Okay, the person can be running, but it's all it is just basically doing a very round face, as I'm drawing now, 2 eyes. Okay, and that becomes a child figure, and it's basically a lollipop. If I looked at that, it's a lollipop. And I could have it running. Okay. I put little lines around it. Now I've got movement. So little children for me, wish they had more little children in their stories, because they're fun and they're easy to draw. And it's all stick drawings. I haven't been really stylized. The little one, I guess you would call it number 1 over here on the left. That was just me playing around with it, just to see what I could come up with. And this was, then I went, okay, that easy, children are easy. What I discovered was, when I had if I show you here with my drawing, and when I had the lollipop, I looked at pictures and I said, older kids sort of have a more of an oval face. It starts to change. And I went, oh yeah. So these are like slightly older kids. They A, B, C, D, and E could be late 10 or 11 or 12-year-old, simply because I made, instead of making the round lollipop, I just made sort of an oval. That's almost like a mirror. So the longer the face, the older the person would sort of look. And then this is just seriously the last, I would say 2 or 3 days, 2 days. I was looking, and there was somebody on the news, and I looked at their face and said, that looks kind of like a diamond. And when I started to place it, I'm going to draw the diamond, because I have the lollipop, the peanut, I have the basket, and this is more of a diamond shape, and I can be a cut diamond over here on letter F. And I said, if I wanted to make like sort of an old, like in the older, the nose is usually longer, and that's pretty normal. The nose does get longer as the person grows into it. And I could, you know, just draw the eyes and then the ears. And, you know, I kind of like, that could be early 20s if I wanted it to be, could be late teens. So I discovered the diamond shape, and I have three, you know, diamond shape for all three. I just did subtle changes on it. You know, slightly different eyes, slightly different eyebrows, slightly different mouth, slightly different nose. And, you know, you can, it's just so cool to be able, because I love subtle changes, okay? And I could, you know, the hair could be much darker as well. So when I got the diamond shape, I went, oh, now I can do, I was doing the same shape for every base face, you know, from the 5 years old and up, either doing a round face or an oval face, but this gave it more definition and was able to do a lot more with it. It was really, really fun to discover that just in the last few days. And on this one, if you want to draw this was just, if you want to draw teachers and you want to be really simple, the teacher, letter A, is just a lot taller. Most of the time, little kids, right? You just make the teacher, doesn't have to be taller, but for purposes, you know, it can look like whatever it wants, you know, like that. But the little kids looking up at the teacher, that, you know, if you say, well, I want the teacher to be shorter, you can just make the teacher look professional. Sometimes I'll put like almost like the bell comes back. Okay. And I simply, in letter A, just kind of draw like thicker legs. That's how I would get, you know, wouldn't have to be taller, but would, you know, a teacher just looks a little more professional. They're just thicker. Okay. And the children, you know, I drew little kids looking up. Any one of the older people or middle-aged people or younger people can be a teacher. So if you didn't want to get into the more stylized, you could simply make it just a little taller than the students, okay? And just draw lines underneath that. So then moving on quickly over here, this was the subtle changes. I went from young, which is the lollipop, to almost like a mirror, to a diamond shape, to the peanut. And that's how I went through my ages. And this was me just, if you draw enough, you kind of figured these things out. I went, oh yeah, I figured it out. Now, adding animals, what I was talking with Michelle, and, you know, animals, I don't do animals. I don't, because they don't really show up in stories, pretty rare. But I said, what if I threw in animals? And you do a lollipop, you want to practice drawing this. It's just a lollipop. And I said, what does that look like to you? And she said, it looks like a pyramid. So I went pyramid, 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 and a shorter pyramid over at the side. And I drew the little feet, and they don't have to look like paws. And instead of drawing what I thought was a note, I just drew almost, I don't know what that looks like, but it's like a little hook. And that's its, you know, back legs, I guess. And the two eyes, round, and you can do any kind of, you know, I guess, ears that you want there. And the second one was basically I could do like the mirror, slightly more oval. And I don't know what that sort of looks like, but loaf of bread, I don't know. And a slightly different dog. Always when you put the tails, like, oh yeah, that is a dog. And just little legs. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to get my point across, is what I've always told people, just getting my point across. And the lollipop in the side mirror, there's the lollipop on letter C, and there's the side mirror. And that's, you know, adding animals. I thought that would be really cool if I could just add animals into it. And then, okay, so I said, okay, what if I put it together for people? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to take some of the pictures. I'm just going to really just throw them in there. And could we make a story, just cut and paste? And I thought, I think we could. So I said, I was telling Michelle, I said, okay, what if we said, you know, say it was Spanish. Hay un hombre se llama John. John tiene 68 años. John vive en New Jersey. John tiene un perro. El perro se llama Fido. The dog's name is Fido. So I did it in English. You know, I could put this up on the board and say, can you tell me about this person? What is his name? You could do it in French, Spanish, German, any language, and say, tell me the name of the person. How old is he? Give a character study. Where does he live? Is he alone? Does he live with his family? Is that his dog? What is the dog's name? And is this a different slide, or is this like, oh, the second slide is the dog Fido sees the grandson and plays with the grandson. So I thought, I just basically went, okay, I'm going to draw the basket, a couple of hair, there's my bell, there's my dog, and I could put something together for a really quick story and use it with the students. And like I said, I just put it out there. If anybody wants to use it, that's great. And then, because when I do one, I go, let me try it again. So I took the picture, I cut and paste the picture from the beginning of, you know, what I'm going to be doing. And I thought, what if I just had this person sitting, what you could name the book, and the person closes the book, person gives it to this grandfather, and the grandfather reads the book. And you have another story. And finally, I said, putting it together, I just had fun with this morning. It could be, here's a person, his name is whatever. He's 22 years old. He lives in Paris. I just took one of my maps, and he lives with his grandparents. That's another thing. I love doing like scenes to make it really easy, apartment building. One day, oh, he sees a dog. He brings the dog home to the apartment, and grandma and grandpa are happy. And then I said, what if the dog flew away? The dog flies. He is surprised. He flies with the dog. So it's a complete little strange story, but it's there for you if you want to use it. And then I said for myself, what, you know, I want to do work more with animals, and whoops. Okay, hold on, go back to gallery. And sorry about that. More animals, scenes, exclamations, like, how do you draw? Life is hard. How do you draw? Life is fantastic. How do you draw? I agree with you. Just small things that could add to a story. And what could you do with these pictures? You could complement the stories from Vose. So you could create your own story and plop it into that Vose. And actually, and actually have like tests. You could, those pictures I gave you, you could say, tell me about the man. You know, what can you say about this person, say in Spanish or French or German or Italian? What can you say? Oh, es un hombre, se llama da da da. So that's my presentation. I think I have a minute left.
Sandy, can you walk us through creating a picture or two?
Yeah.
Character.
Yeah. Okay. So explain that again to me. What do you mean?
Could you walk us through the steps of drawing a character so that we
yeah. So
do it
what
at home?
Yeah. So if I'm saying, okay, I want to draw a story for somebody. Okay, I'm just going to draw like, whoops. Okay, I'm going to go like, okay, here's my peanut, sort of a peanut. I go, well, okay, character. I want this character to be sad. Okay. Yeah, because I've been concentrating on older people for this one. I would. Okay, and I just want to do a stick figure. Okay, I just want to do a stick figure. I don't need to do it. I go like that. Okay. Okay, so there's a sad person, and if he could be walking. If I do it the other way, and I say I want him walking towards home, I want him walking towards his apartment, right? So oh, sorry, that was me. That was me. The 40 minutes. Sorry. Okay, he's surprised now. I could change his look and say, oh no, I'm very surprised that Sandra did that. Okay, and once if I'm drawing a story, I just say, okay, look at my pictures. I want to put a dog in the story. If I have, you know, he's like that. And then I could have this peanut person, because I don't have to be perfect. If I draw the base of it, okay, now the peanut person, okay, is now walking with a book because I had a book in my thing. He's walking with a book. And now, and he could, each page, he's like, he's walking to school. And if I have I have a whole cache of scenes in villages and cool things like that, I plop it in and create my story. So if anybody said, you know, my students, remember Michelle, the student said, we have a story. Could we write it simple? Would you draw it for us? I went, you bet. Just make it simple. And they got lost down the Cape on a boat. So I drew the story for them. Then they lost their brothers on a hike and they found them and I drew the story. And this really fits in because you can just draw the picture of an older person and they do show up in the more sophisticated stories and voces and say, here it is. This is the grandfather in the story of like blah, 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 blah. Tell me about this thing. Could you can talk to the students about the story and say, I'm going to show you how to draw a peanut older person. Can you draw this? And you can say, can you draw some of the story for me? I will speak it. Can you draw certain parts of like Uma va a Ouagadougou or La Muchacha Fantástica or the one, what's Michelle, the one where she girl goes to school, Julie or Lucy va à l'école.
Lucy.
Yeah. So you could draw that as, you know, you could ask the students to say, here it is. What can you do? I mean, kids can draw really well. Can you draw some of the story from, you know, voces? Can you show me as students how I would draw this? Help me out. So especially simple artwork just lends itself to the voce stories and it's fun. I mean, I'm having an awful lot of fun drawing it and sharing it. And like I said, whatever's on this, I'm going to flip this over. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to flip this over and, you know, whatever you want to use for your classes, absolutely. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And the tips that I gave you would hopefully, because I'm all about making it easier for myself. And, you know, I have tons of stories and I've evolved from being super stylized to super simple to now I've got a formula. And the formula helps you so much. It's so much fun to draw the voce stories. And like I said, some of them for the culture, I don't want to draw stick figures. I want to delve into the culture and see like, how do I draw the masks for this story? How do I draw the person to really bring out the cultural part? Because that's why that's in there. That's why the story is in the voces for the culture, a lot of them. So I go back and forth, but I have so many, I love the stories and I draw so many. If you want, it's like, I'm there, let me draw. I don't do puzzles, I draw. So, you know, there we go. So I don't know if you have any questions or anything, but I'm hoping that you all enjoyed it. I really am. And I'm hoping that it makes it easier and you pick up something. So thank you very, very much for allowing me to share.
Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. I think I speak for all of us when I say that it was definitely super interesting and helpful for those of us who would like to try something like this in our classroom. We did get one question. Someone asked if it is possible to find a tutorial for Apple Draw online. Is that the application you're using by chance? Apple
The
Draw?
application I'm using, I mean, I use super expensive ones for my Mac. I would never recommend them now. I did it a year ago when I did my presentation and I would never. I have an iPad. It's called Procreate, $9.95 or $9.99. Procreate. It is an amazing app. It's no subscription. I've done more with this app than I did 1,000 times more than I did with the very expensive program that I bought, Painter 21, which is great, but this is a lot easier. I don't know if there are if you could do Apple Draw. I'll delve into it and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay,
I'll do some
awesome.
research.
Yeah, we appreciate that insight because we did have a question about it, and Michelle actually said I think she uses Procreate app for.
Yeah, and Michelle,
so
it's like it's so, and you can buy more pens and things like that and pencils from Lisa Bardot brushes, and they're still cheap. But I've only bought one. I got some freebies, but I bought one.
And the basic thing has got so much.
It's amazing. And like I'm evolving. This is like, I'm not an artist. I'm going to just be straight out. I'm not. So, you know, I make mistakes and but it was so much fun to share. I got over my nervousness after the first peanut catastrophe. That's not a peanut. So I really thank you. And it's like the Procreate is an amazing app. It's worth more than that, but I would never tell the company that. It's got, don't ever tell them, it's worth so much more.
And you can do it on paper too, right?
Yeah, and
I do it on the
last-
whiteboard for my students
Yeah,
all the time.
the last one, it's actually really, for me, drawing on paper, I've got a lot more control because that pen slides across the glass. And I don't have any way to put like something to make it more matte without messing up my, warranty for the, but I don't want to mess it up, but drawing on paper is so much fun as well. And with the pencil and an eraser, if I had this more matte, so it wasn't sliding, it would feel more like a pencil. So, yeah. So is there any, yeah.
I will, we are a bit over the time here, so I
Yeah, and I
will
want to
ask
let,
that if, I will ask if anyone has any final questions or thoughts for Sandy. You can shoot me an email and I'll make sure that it gets to her. My email is spencerc@vossaisdigital.com. That's SPENCER@vossaisdigital.com. One more time, thank you so much, Sandy, for.
And I'll get I'm going to put this in a Google slideshow and pop it over to you, so that everybody will have it. Yeah.
Excellent. And we will, for those of you who showed up late, this recording will be available in a couple of days, both on our website and on our YouTube channel. So make sure to check it out then if you were a couple minutes late or whatever. Sandy, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who came out tonight. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Weekly Wednesday webinar. So thank you all very much and have a great night. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.